Right now, we are joined by Emmi Trammel, a former Jeopardy champion. She's joining us here on GMJ. And we're going to have a little bit of fun in a minute and play our own version of Jeopardy. But before we get to that, Emmi, the first question I want to know, and I'm a big fan of Jeopardy, what's the secret to buzzing in? Because it seems sometimes you get a lot of people really clicking away and they get locked out, it seems.
Yes, so I would also like to know the secret to buzzing in. I had some trouble with it on the show. They told me sometimes I was too early and sometimes I was too late. But it's really all a timing game. There's a light that comes on, and if you buzz in a split second before, you get locked out. A split second after, someone else has probably already gotten it. So they kind of tell you to just rapid fire buzzer it. Like as soon as you see that light, just like go for it and hope you get it.
So they do give you like a visual cue of now you can buzz in.
Yes, on like the board where all the questions are, there are these big lights on either side of it that will turn on as soon as like you're able to buzz in. And you have to try and kind of game it right off those lights.
That's really cool. You're peeling back sort of the mystery behind Jeopardy for us. Walk me through sort of your history with the game show. How much of a fan were you prior to auditioning for it, and also the audition process?
Sure. So I've always been a giant Jeopardy fan. I auditioned for the first time when I was 16 for the teen tournament. I took the online test, and then I got to a final audition and just never heard anything from there. And then after that, I took the test every year for the past 6 years. So every year for the college tournament, and then never got an audition for that. And then this past year, I took it for the first year for like big kid Jeopardy, like regular Jeopardy. And like 6 months to a year later, I got an email that was like, hey, you want to do a Zoom audition? And then I did that, and they said, if we want you, you'll hear something within 18 months. If you don't, take the test again. And it was about a year after that that I got a call that was like, hey, we're considering you. This was on a Monday. If we want you to be on the show, you'll hear something by Thursday. I did not hear anything by Thursday, and then on Friday they called me and said we want you to be on the show. And so that was sort of the end to a 6-year process of repeat test taking.
Now, what's the process from going from Jacksonville to Jeopardy? Do they tell you you need to be in, Los Angeles on a certain day or time, or do they work with your schedule when you might be available?
So that was what that first call on the Monday was basically saying, are you going to be available on this date? And are you still eligible to be on the show and everything? And so I immediately talked to my coworkers and my boss, and I was like, I'm gonna potentially need this day off.
Okay.
And yeah, they basically just say, here are the 2 days you need to be in LA, make it happen, and I did.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So when you know you're going to be on Jeopardy, are you just rolling through Wikipedia or reading random trivia facts how do you study for Jeopardy?
Yeah, so it's really hard to know what to study. I definitely probably should have studied more than I did. I just played a lot of Jeopardy, watched a whole lot of episodes. Like my mom has like a season recording set up, so we would just binge watch them just to get an idea of the kind of questions. And then every so often I'd get really nervous about a certain category and just like go down a Wikipedia rabbit hole, trying to like cram information, I guess. But yeah, I kind of just have to trust that you know what you need to know, I guess.
So I hear this all the time from people who, experience something and could never get the chance to like replicate it or do it again. Is there one question that you had from Jeopardy that stands out as like, no, I knew that, but I got it wrong?
Yes.
Okay.
So the final Jeopardy, my second game, the game that I lost, I had a guess in mind. The question was a Paul Simon song. The only Paul Simon song I could think of was Call Me Al. And I was gonna write it, and then I chickened out and didn't write it, and it turned out that was the right answer. And I bet $4,000 on it and left a blank screen. So that is the one that I would go back and change if I could.
And how is Spherion, your employer, sort of prepared you for that path?
Yeah, so I have done a couple positions with Spherion. Both of them involve just kind of like having to keep track of so many people and names and stories and information, and so having to juggle all of that information in my head, I think really helped to kind of think on my feet, and kind of trust my gut a little bit more.
What would your lasting advice be for anyone at home who's watching this who's like, oh, like I want to be on Jeopardy? What if they get that call back and that flight out to LA? What would your advice be?
If you get the call back and you're gonna be on Jeopardy, trust your gut. That's seriously what I didn't do enough, right? Study probably more than I did. Practice with a clicky pen. But yeah, trust your gut, because you probably know it. You're on Jeopardy.
Well, Emmi, hopefully you trust your gut when we come back after these break and we play our version of Jeopardy, Jacksonville, coming up in 2 minutes.